The sound of the birds, for Bronwen Wallace. Death may indeed be the last great foe of writing, but writing is also the foe of death. J.M. Coetzee, Age of Iron. Whippoorwill, voice in the night woods, by day, when disturbed, they say, you flee like a large brown moth. Each night I listened for your call. Each night and every night when your call stopped, I held my breath suspended for fear of an end to this intimate acquaintance, a quickening of breath itself. Owl, loon, and thunderstorm. Driving home that day, as on all other days, through country as familiar as the bones of my face, reaching often to my cheeks and drawing my fingers down through history, trying to wipe away awkwardness or scars of the past. But that day near Elginburg and the herd of pale charolais, I drove into a storm like lilacs in full bloom, Cimmerian darkness, you dying, and I but witness to the end. The faces of stranded drivers that I passed I didn't understand till later, when the storm had cleared and I was on dry ground. I searched the roads for catastrophe, as if these strangers' shattered visages held something I knew but had not seen yet. All summer driving into it, this future of unbearable sadness, holding my newborn son in my arms while I sat by your bed, you and I weeping, the sound of many birds calling, and the poplar leaves scratching against the wooden fence. Everything I knew useless against this catastrophe. Rising at night, I'd lift Daniel from his crib and fall into a chair by the window, place him on my breast, think of you awake in pain and thirst. I'd grow accustomed to a dialogue with silence, then wait for the sounds of night. First, the heavy movement I called owl, unsteady steps, then silence. In the morning, I found castings on the warm day ground below my northern window. Later, I'd hear the calls of other night birds hunting. They were far shriller than my fears. I wanted whispers while I sat and listened in the night, felt my heart beat, the small, insistent lips, heard his tiny breath, remembered the sound of air whistling through the dark hole of your cheek. One night, I heard the loons cry all the way from Knowlton Lake. A clear, cool night without wind. It made me believe you'd survived this indescribable evil, squamous cell carcinoma, the black cancer on your face. Cardinal and lunar eclipse. The red bird, and then silence, while I sat and watched all you endured, the raw eyes of those afraid to touch you, doctors who spoke as if you were not there, months of radiation, pus that filled your mouth, treatments that failed again and again, pain that was never controlled, and then the other things, the thirst and hunger, your white eyelet nightgown pulled up, exposing your thighs, injections of Laetrile, that look in your eyes, a terror I have never seen before, your individual vision of death. I have cancer of the mouth, you wrote over and over that first day in your journal, as if by repeating you might begin to believe it, conquer it, separate it from your future. That cardinal would catch my eye as I sat on your couch downstairs, Daniel sleeping in his swing, and the tick of the wall clock continuous and taunting, broken by bird calls, the scratch of their beaks as they darted here and there for food, red flash of the northern cardinal, its black eyes and throat, bright moments in these dark summer days. Later, I'd see that red as a bloom growing in your pale throat, the arterial blood hovering barely beneath the skin that glowed as I entered your room, breathless with eagerness and grief. All things became real in one place, the earth and beyond centered there. Full lunar eclipse. I stood in the darkness and watched the shadow creep across your glowing features, while all others round about me watched the marvel in space. I watched you die, Gripping my baby to my chest, I let you go over and over, still breathing the possibility of miracle. A dream and a turkey vulture. After all the radiation was finished and they offered you the name of a doctor in palliative care, one night you dreamt there were still more treatments and you were standing naked in a circus tent. A crowd was throwing balls at you. In desperation, you reached for your gown, unable to put it on. It doesn't matter whether you're protected or not anymore, your doctor said. A circus tent, a hostile crowd, doctors that do no good at all. You dream, and then you wake. Panic, feeling of being written off. These are good doctors, but once their skills can't help, they see nothing, cannot learn from me. Early in July, I drove with my son Nicholas out into deeper country. The sun was sharp, and the land golden as befits a place where summer falls all in one day. On the road, a dead rabbit, its dark skin marred by trailing pink intestines. A vulture lifted its black feet from the gravel pavement, its naked head swiveling. Eastern Phoebe. Small tail bobber. When it was not fly-catching, it was announcing itself the way I wanted to, shouting out myself as if that might halt the dreadful, unstoppable growth of what I saw first as a red ball on your cheek, then as the creature that was killing you, filling your house with the smell of cancer. The look in your eyes is what I lived with, the eyes of exhaustion from an argument with death, eyes after hours of tears, whole nights of fear and pain while you lay awake waiting for the first bird that called forth the night. The memory of ordinary mornings, just the sun and coffee and Jeremy and Chris off into their days, the house settling down, the poem coming on. You wrote 4 days before your final slow breath, and now this absence, this silence. I'd sit on the veranda in the early evening, remembering, holding Daniel, watching the sky and the Phoebe dipping for insects along brief thermals that made us once believe in angels. I wanted their firm, warm, beating bodies to hold in my hand and give to you as a supplicant might offer up her breath for yours, to do what was impossible for us, poor humans, slaves to gravity. Then at night, waking with Daniel's cry, for a moment I thought I'd dreamt all this, would see you well, untouched, free. Oh, Phoebe, sweet dipping bird, my heart bleeds for my friend. Cockatiel. The nervous chatter reduced to a breath-baited, blood coursing round your lucid brain, sound of the morphine pump like a frenzied electric insect, your hand rising slowly to your cheek, pressing the white bandage into place, resting briefly at the dark shadow of blood on your translucent neck. Your fine fingers never more beautiful than now. I kiss them, watch their continuous flicking movement as you hold your straw in ice water that never slakes the thirst. The calling of the cockatiel downstairs mixes briefly with Daniel's cry. When I leave you now, I turn briefly at the door, your lean body on the bed, forever in that room, burnt into my sight, my waking moments and my sleep, all focused there. A small bell in the cage, he rings it with his head, side to side, lifts his yellow eye to me, shining. He opens his pale beak and screams in imitation of those on the wing outdoors. Daniel smiles as I raise my clothes, let loose my milk, tears, the garden offering up its gifts, late summer afternoon, the dusty smell of poplars before rain. Whippoorwill, where is your voice now? Animals are furtive in these briefer days, high limbs of trees gray, wrapped in concentration for the sap's retreat. Even the stars seem aloof. And you are not here, dear night bird. You are gone. The stillness is a room I've moved into, like the clothes I will wear to ward off colder weather, a cape of loneliness, the dark heart of a night without song.